Have you ever felt misunderstood or distanced by those around you as you grow older? Maybe your well-meaning advice is misinterpreted, or the once strong relationships with your family and friends seem to fade. It's frustrating when the people you care about don't seem to see you the way they used to. But why does this happen? Why do some people seem to pull away, or worse, judge you based on things that have nothing to do with who you really are? If you've been feeling disconnected, frustrated, or even hurt by these changes, you're not alone, and this video is for you. If you're not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic, please comment 1. If you don't, comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now let's begin. As the years go by, something subtle but significant begins to change. Conversations that once felt natural, flowing with ease and mutual understanding, now seem to fall into uncomfortable silences. You may find that your well-intended advice is met with defensiveness, or your lighthearted jokes, once the source of laughter, now fall flat, leaving only awkward pauses in their wake. There's a growing sense of confusion, almost as though the world around you has started speaking a language you no longer fully understand. Have you ever felt that twinge of frustration when your words, carefully chosen and full of good intentions, are misinterpreted? Or when a seemingly simple conversation takes a turn that leaves you wondering, why don't they get me? It's a deeply disorienting feeling, one that makes you question if you've somehow lost your place in a world that seems to be evolving without you. It's so easy to start doubting yourself in moments like these. Perhaps you feel a pang of isolation, as some people seem to shy away from deeper, more meaningful exchanges. Why do they prefer surface-level chatter over anything that involves real connection? That question lingers in your mind, churning in the background, making you feel increasingly disconnected from the world you once thought you understood. What happened, you might ask yourself? Why have things changed? The truth, however, is often more complicated than we'd like to admit. The differences that cause these misunderstandings often lie in the generational gap between you and others. What you've learned over the years, the importance of honesty, the straightforwardness that comes with experience, might not always resonate with younger generations. They've grown up in an environment where communication is often more nuanced, more sensitive to tone, and sometimes wrapped in layers of politeness or even avoidance. This shift doesn't mean you're wrong or that you've somehow failed in your ability to communicate. Rather, it reflects the different experiences that have shaped each of us in unique ways. Generations develop their own languages, shaped by cultural, social, and technological shifts that define their era. And sometimes these languages don't quite match up. As these gaps in understanding continue to grow, it's easy to feel like you're speaking to a brick wall, where frustration, confusion, and even resentment slowly build up on both sides. A palpable sense of disconnection begins to form, more and more difficult to ignore. The longer it goes unresolved, the harder it becomes to repair. The isolation can feel suffocating, making you question if anyone truly understands you anymore. But here's the thing. The very fact that we're aware of these differences gives us a chance to bridge them. Yes, it can be difficult and draining, and there may be moments when it feels like you're fighting an uphill battle. But it's not impossible. If both sides are willing to meet halfway, open up, and truly listen to each other, these divides can be mended. It takes patience, empathy, and a willingness to adapt. Most importantly, it requires that we remember, misunderstandings aren't a sign of failure. They're an opportunity for growth. There's a quiet, yet deeply painful ache that comes with feeling overlooked. It's a sorrow that's difficult to express, but resonates with anyone who's ever poured love, time, and energy into those they care about, only to feel invisible in return. As life moves forward, we naturally desire recognition. Not in an egotistical sense, but as a way to feel that our efforts, our love, and our wisdom have made a difference. We want to know that what we've given to the people we love has mattered, and that the years we've spent sacrificing, caring, and sharing have left a lasting impression. But as time passes, there are moments when it feels like all of that is taken for granted. The very people we've given so much of ourselves to, our families, our friends, our colleagues, seem to become so absorbed in their own busy lives that they forget the depths of our sacrifices. Once close family members may drift away, lost in their own concerns, while friends who once celebrated our successes no longer seem to notice our accomplishments. It's as though we've been pushed to the sidelines, our presence reduced to background noise in the ever-growing symphony of their own lives. What's worse, there's this haunting feeling that they no longer value our input, our experiences, or the wisdom we've gathered over the years. Have you ever wondered why the people you've always been there for seem so distant, so consumed with their own lives? Have you ever found yourself questioning why your once cherished insights, the lessons you've learned through years of struggle and growth, seem to fall on deaf ears? It's not just about seeking validation or a pat on the back. It's about the emotional connection, the recognition that we've been present for others in ways that truly matter. When that connection fades, it feels like an emotional void, one that lingers in the heart and makes us question our significance. The pain is not just about the lack of recognition, it's about the sense of loss. Loss of closeness, loss of belonging, loss of feeling seen and understood. The things we do for others, the small acts of kindness, the thoughtful gestures, the deep conversations, the support we offer in times of need, define who we are. Yet when they go unnoticed, we begin to feel invisible, wondering if we've lost our place in their hearts, wondering if we no longer matter. But here's the painful truth. It's not because we've lost our value or importance. The reality is far more bittersweet. People get lost in the whirlwind of their own lives. They're often caught up in the rush of their daily responsibilities, emotional struggles, aspirations, and dreams. Amid this chaos, they forget to stop and acknowledge the steady presence that's been there all along. They forget to appreciate the one who has been a constant source of support, love, and wisdom. And though it may feel like a personal betrayal, it's often not a deliberate act of neglect. It's simply that they've become so immersed in their world that they no longer see or feel the presence of others in the way they once did. This doesn't make the hurt go away, but understanding this truth, while not easy, can help soften the sting. It's a reminder that while we may not always receive the recognition or appreciation we deserve, it doesn't diminish the value of what we give. Sometimes the ones we love become so immersed in their journeys that they forget to turn around and see the love we've been offering all along. This too is a part of life, but it doesn't mean we should stop loving, stop giving, or stop sharing our wisdom, even when it feels like no one is watching. Our worth remains quietly, steadfastly, and beautifully, just as it always has been. Have you ever had that sinking feeling, the gut-wrenching realization that people might be talking about you behind your back, spreading stories, fabricating truths, and twisting your words in ways that don't even remotely reflect who you truly are? It's as if a shadow has been cast over you, clouding the way others perceive you, based on things that were never true to begin with. There's something uniquely painful about gossip, especially when it comes from people you thought you could trust. Neighbors, family, old friends. These are the people who should have your back, not be the ones feeding into the gossip mill. But sadly, in tightly knit communities where everyone knows everyone else's business, this kind of behavior seems all too common. If you're still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you're still here with me. The worst part about rumors is how they don't just float around casually. They stick. They cling to your reputation, subtly shaping how others perceive you without anyone taking the time to hear your side of the story. People begin to treat you differently, as though you're guilty of something you never even did. It's frustrating, and it feels completely unjust, like your very essence is being distorted by words you never said. You want to scream to defend yourself, but in the midst of all the whispering, your voice gets lost in the noise. So why do people gossip in the first place? It's something I've asked myself countless times. Sometimes it seems like it's less about you and more about their own struggles, about their insecurities, fears, and the stories they tell themselves to make sense of the world. Gossip is, in many ways, an escape, a brief moment where people can feel better about their shortcomings by tearing someone else down. It's a sad truth that often it has nothing to do with you at all. It could be their boredom or jealousy that drives them to create unnecessary drama or find flaws where none exist. They want to feel superior, even if it means dragging you into their world of fabricated lies. Then there are those who gossip because they simply don't understand. They've made assumptions about you based on their limited perspective. Instead of coming to you for clarity, they've chosen to believe the worst. It's as if, in their minds, the gaps in their knowledge are filled with the worst-case scenario. While you sit there, heartbroken and misunderstood, the silence between you and them grows wider, and the weight of those rumors continues to bear down on your soul, leaving you feeling isolated and alone. It's one of life's harshest, most unfair realities, how easily rumors can destroy someone's peace, their sense of self, and their relationships with others. Yet the people who spread them rarely stop to consider the damage they cause. It's a painful reminder that words hold incredible power to either build up or tear down. The burden of jealousy is a subtle yet powerful force that can weigh heavily on the hearts of both the person who feels it and the one who remains unaware. Have you ever experienced that uncomfortable sensation of someone acting strangely around you, as if they're harboring an invisible discomfort or distance? It's perplexing, isn't it? It might not have anything to do with you. In fact, it could be that you unknowingly represent something they lack, something they deeply desire but feel they can never attain. Whether it's your hard-earned success, your deep and loving relationships, or even your calm confidence in situations where others might crumble, these things can stir feelings of envy and jealousy that quietly fester in the background. So why does this happen? Why do people experience such negative emotions when they see another person thriving? The truth is, jealousy often has very little to do with the person they envy. It's rooted in their own inner turmoil, unspoken pain, and unmet desires. Perhaps your financial stability is a constant reminder of their struggles to make ends meet, or your strong family bonds highlight the emptiness they feel in their relationships. It's not that they wish you harm. It's simply that your successes shine a spotlight on what they feel they're missing in their own lives. The emptiness they experience can manifest as jealousy. This feeling isn't just about material things. It's about emotions and dreams left unfulfilled. When someone envies you, they're not merely after what you have. They long for the sense of security, joy, and accomplishment that seems to accompany it. As frustrating as it may be, jealousy is something you can't control. It's a reflection of their internal battles, a cry for something they wish they had but feel they can never reach. In a way, they suffer in silence, caught between their longing for what they see in you and their inability to realize those desires in their own life. The emotional toll is not just on the person who feels jealousy, but also on the one who unknowingly becomes the object of it. It can make you question what you've done wrong, wondering if your success has created a rift in your relationships. The truth, however, is that you haven't done anything wrong. The jealousy others feel is a reflection of their pain and unmet aspirations, not your wrongdoing. It's a reminder of how much we as human beings are driven by our desires and dreams, and how fragile our sense of self-worth can be when we feel we are falling short. Have you ever found yourself struggling to connect with the younger generation, feeling like the values that shaped your life are increasingly seen as outdated or irrelevant? The values that once seemed universal, like hard work, discipline, respect for tradition, and the importance of family, are now often viewed through a very different lens. As time moves forward, these beliefs that you've carried for decades might appear out of sync with a rapidly changing world. It creates a quiet but palpable tension, a disconnect between two worlds that seem to grow further apart with each passing year. The clash of values between generations can be a source of profound emotional frustration. You may have spent your life honing virtues like persistence, responsibility, and dedication, only to see them questioned by those who prioritize convenience, instant gratification, or personal freedom above all else. It's disheartening to realize that the very principles that gave your life meaning might now be viewed as irrelevant in today's fast-paced, ever-evolving world. How can we reconcile these differences? Can there truly be a bridge between these seemingly incompatible worlds, or are we destined to drift further apart? This friction is rooted in the personal nature of our values. The beliefs we hold dear are shaped by years of experience, by the hardships we've faced, the lessons we've learned, and the love and sacrifices we've encountered. When someone dismisses these values, it feels like an attack on our identity. It's not just an abstract difference of opinion, it's as though they're questioning the essence of who we are and what we've lived through. On the other hand, younger generations, raised in an era of rapid technological advancements and shifting cultural norms, may find themselves valuing things like flexibility, innovation, and personal freedom. These values may seem essential to their sense of self, but can often feel at odds with the more traditional principles you hold close. The emotional divide can be heartbreaking, and yet it holds potential for growth and understanding. If we can take the time to listen, reflect, and truly hear each other out, perhaps there's room for compromise, where we can embrace both tradition and innovation. But how can we ensure that the wisdom we've gained isn't lost, but passed down in a way that resonates with the next generation? There are moments when the world feels like it's moving too quickly. It's as though everyone is rushing forward, and in that relentless pace, no one truly sees or understands you. Even surrounded by family or colleagues, you may feel invisible. Conversations seem brief and shallow, filled with distractions, as if people are merely checking off boxes instead of connecting deeply. You try to express something that matters to you, only to be met with distracted nods or brief responses, making you feel unheard. These moments of emotional isolation aren't always a result of intentional neglect. They often come from a world that's moving too fast, where empathy has become a rare commodity. The demands of modern life pull us in every direction, leaving us with little time to stop, reflect, or genuinely connect. In the blur of our busy lives, we forget to truly see each other. Empathy, the deep human connection that allows us to understand one another's emotions, seems to have been lost in the rush. This lack of understanding is particularly evident between generations. Younger people may not fully grasp the challenges that come with aging, and may inadvertently dismiss the pain of older individuals because they haven't yet experienced it. Aging brings physical and emotional changes, slower movements, aching joints, loss of friends, and the quiet grief of knowing time is running out. These struggles often go unnoticed in a world that values productivity and outward success above all else. How often do we stop to think about what someone else is going through? How often do we take a moment to check in with those around us? Unfortunately, the answer is rarely enough. But if you're still watching this video and finding these reflections useful, please comment Toby below to let me know you're still here with me. How do we address the lack of empathy and the emotional disconnect that seems to be widening each day? First, I think we all need to learn to slow down. I know, in a fast-paced world where every moment feels packed with 1,000 things to do, it's not easy. But even taking a brief pause can make all the difference. It's about allowing ourselves to truly connect with others. It's about listening, not just to the words they say, but to the emotions behind them. It's about noticing the small things, the tired eyes, the clenched fists, the quiet sighs. These are the signals that someone needs empathy, that they need to be seen. Empathy isn't about feeling sorry for someone. It's about deeply understanding and sharing their feelings, about putting ourselves in their shoes and imagining their experience without judgment or assumptions. This becomes especially important when it comes to younger generations who may not yet fully understand the struggles of aging or personal loss. But this isn't just about the older generation either. Empathy must flow both ways. The older generation needs to understand the unique challenges younger people face, like career pressures, social anxiety, or the fear of an uncertain future. Both sides need to make the effort to listen, to see one another, and to understand. Empathy connects us, it binds us together even when the world around us seems to pull us apart. Though it may feel difficult at times to find empathy in such a fast-moving world, I truly believe it's possible. We just need to put in the effort. It's up to us to slow down, to be present, and to show that we care for each other. Not just during the easy times, but also during the hard ones. Empathy isn't just a nice-to-have quality. It's a lifeline. It's the bridge between our struggles and our healing. The thing that can help us find our way back to one another no matter how distant we may feel. Have you ever sensed a subtle, uncomfortable feeling that someone close to you is competing with you in an unspoken way? It's not a rivalry with clear stakes or a visible prize to win. No one is standing on a podium claiming victory or defeat, yet there's a lingering tension, a feeling of being measured, compared, and evaluated in ways that are both personal and inexplicable. It could be a sibling who, despite outwardly expressing love and support, quietly judges why your family relationships seem more harmonious than theirs. Or it could be a friend who, under the guise of casual conversation, constantly brings up their latest health milestones, almost as if they're quietly gauging how they compare to you. These aren't overtly dramatic battles. Rather, they are subtle competitions that exist in the spaces between words and gestures. What's even more perplexing is that these quiet rivalries don't seem to vanish with time. We might hope that as we grow older, maturity will bring peace and release us from these subtle struggles. But in reality, they often take on more elusive forms. These rivalries may become harder to detect, masked by politeness, but their presence is felt just the same. They manifest in the little things, the frequent updates about someone's latest achievement, the subtle comparisons, or the odd feeling that you're being sized up, whether it's about your career, family, or life choices. It's as if there's an invisible scoreboard running in the background. And despite everyone claiming to be happy for you, that underlying competition remains simmering just beneath the surface. In my experience, these quiet rivalries are often driven by feelings of insecurity, feelings that go deeper than surface-level jealousy. It's not that the person competing against you necessarily wants you to fail or seeks to outshine you for dominance's sake. No, what truly fuels these rivalries is often an inner dissatisfaction, a feeling of not measuring up, of not being enough in their own eyes. We all have areas of our lives where we feel unsure, incomplete, or unfulfilled. And these quiet rivalries reflect those insecurities. For instance, when someone sees how you balance work, family, and a healthy lifestyle, it can cast a harsh light on areas where they feel lacking. Perhaps they are struggling with a career that doesn't bring them joy, or maybe they are dealing with strained family relationships. Your success, your happiness, your ability to live a fulfilling life, it all becomes a mirror to their struggles. Unfortunately, not everyone can handle that reflection with grace. This is what makes these quiet rivalries emotionally complex and, at times, painful. They are not about wanting to be better than you. Rather, they're about not feeling good enough in comparison to you. It's not about competing with you per se. It's about competing with their version of themselves. They see something in your life that they admire, something they wish they had but feel they can never reach. It's an internal conflict they may never voice, but it seeps into the relationship dynamics. They may smile and congratulate you, but behind that smile could lie a twinge of envy, a quiet desire to match or surpass what you've achieved. It's not about taking something from you. It's about proving something to themselves. They want to feel that they too can reach the heights you've reached, even if it means quietly measuring every aspect of your life against theirs. These feelings, while difficult, are rooted in personal struggles that have little to do with you. It's not about you being too successful or too happy. It's about their own battles with self-worth, achievement, and identity. While it may be tempting to react defensively or withdraw from those who seem to be quietly competing with you, I believe the better approach is to offer empathy. Understanding that their behavior comes from a place of insecurity can soften the sting of their words or actions. However, this doesn't mean we should ignore or dismiss the impact that these rivalries can have on our emotional well-being. Recognizing them is the first step. When we acknowledge that the people we care about may, without realizing it, be struggling with their own sense of inadequacy in relation to us, it becomes easier to separate their feelings from our own. Their quiet competition isn't a reflection of our worth, it's a reflection of their internal struggles. So, how do we navigate relationships where competition simmers just beneath the surface? In my opinion, the key is fostering open, honest communication. While it may be uncomfortable, having conversations about our feelings, vulnerabilities, and insecurities can help dissolve the silent tension. Creating space for vulnerability can ease the weight of these quiet rivalries and bring clarity to complex emotions. We create opportunities for connection and understanding by reminding ourselves that we are not in competition with others. Life isn't a race or a game where only one person can win. We are all on different journeys, each with our own struggles and successes. Recognizing this truth is crucial. Ultimately, it's important to understand that these quiet rivalries aren't necessarily a sign that someone doesn't care about you. They might care deeply, but also be silently wrestling with their own insecurities. The question is not about competing, but about how we support one another in the face of those insecurities, how we lift each other up rather than creating more distance. When we shift our mindset from competition to collaboration, from measuring to celebrating, those quiet rivalries can fade, and we can focus on what truly matters: the connections we make, the lives we touch, and the love we share. The challenge of shifting relationships is a deeply emotional experience that many of us encounter, though it's often something we aren't prepared for. As time passes, relationships, whether with close friends, family members, or even long-term partners, undergo subtle transformations. These shifts can be painful, perplexing, and difficult to navigate. It's a natural part of life, but that doesn't make it any easier to process when it happens. You may notice that someone you once felt a strong bond with, a friend you confided in, or a relative who was a constant presence in your life, has started to distance themselves. Or you might find that someone who once relied on you, sharing their struggles and seeking your support, now seems to be pulling away without any clear explanation. At first you might brush it off, thinking it's just a phase or a busy time in their life. But as the distance grows, confusion and hurt begin to set in. The feeling of growing apart can be unsettling, like a slow, silent drift beneath the surface of your interactions. You might begin to question yourself, wondering if you said or did something wrong, or if you've somehow failed to live up to the expectations of that relationship. It's as though a bond that was once so secure and tangible starts to unravel in ways you can't quite grasp. Perhaps you begin to overthink every interaction, reading into every word or gesture, searching for clues about what went wrong. There's a sense of helplessness, as if you're not just losing the connection, but also the certainty and security that came with it. Relationships are always evolving, but it's only when these shifts are sudden or unexpected that they catch us off guard. People change over time, and so do their needs and priorities. It's not always about something overt, like a fight or a falling out, but rather the quiet evolution of individual lives. As people grow, they experience new perspectives, new ideas, and new ways of looking at the world. These changes can subtly alter the dynamics of their relationships. It's difficult to accept, but relationships don't always stay in the same place. Sometimes, as people change, they may outgrow certain relationships, and it can feel as though they no longer need you in the same way they once did. When this happens, it feels like a sharp loss even though no one has physically walked away. The emotional distance feels just as real, if not more painful, than the physical one. From personal experience, I can say that dealing with the realization that relationships are not as they once were is one of the hardest parts of life. It's heartbreaking to watch a connection fade away, especially when there's no clear reason why. You may wonder if you could have done something differently, if you could have been a better friend, more present, or perhaps more understanding. But what's crucial to realize is that change is an inherent part of life. Relationships, just like people, are not static. They evolve, and sometimes they outgrow their current form. The pain comes from the feeling of losing something that once felt secure and stable. But the truth is, change is necessary for growth. It might be painful, but it can also open doors to new experiences, new people, and new understandings. What makes this especially difficult to handle is the uncertainty that accompanies it. When a relationship begins to shift, you might not know how to respond. Should you reach out, hoping to rekindle the connection? Should you give them space, thinking that they might need time to figure things out on their own? It's easy to feel torn, caught between wanting to hold on to what you once had and acknowledging that it may not be what it was anymore. There's a deep sense of sadness that comes with this realization, but also a certain amount of fear, the fear of letting go, and the fear of being left behind. You might fear that as you try to adapt to the changes, you risk losing the person altogether. However, it's important to remember that relationships, like all things in life, have their seasons. Some last a lifetime while others are meant to be temporary, helping us learn valuable lessons along the way. And sometimes, even though it's incredibly difficult, the best thing you can do is let go. By letting go, you make room for growth. Not only for the other person, but for yourself as well. It's hard to let go, especially when there are so many memories and shared experiences that make the bond feel irreplaceable. But in my opinion, it's through these painful moments of loss that we discover our strength. We learn that, while relationships are important, they do not define us. Our ability to adapt, to understand that change is inevitable, and to accept that some things are out of our control is what truly helps us grow. This is the paradox of shifting relationships. The deeper the connection, the more painful it is to see it evolve or fade. But evolution is a necessary part of both our journeys and the journeys of those around us. It's hard to accept, but it's through this discomfort that we learn about ourselves, our boundaries, and our capacity for love, even when relationships change or end. The experiences they give us, the lessons learned, and the growth fostered are not lost. They remain with us, woven into the fabric of who we are. And though it might hurt now, over time, you begin to see that these changes, though painful, are ultimately a chance for renewal, for both you and the other person. So, as hard as it may be, embrace the shifts in your relationships, not as a loss, but as an opportunity for growth and transformation. The emotional burden of aging is something that we all experience at different points in our lives, though it's often something that goes unspoken. Aging is a profound and intricate journey that touches not just the body, but the very essence of our emotions and identity. As we grow older, it's impossible to ignore the physical changes that come with time. The slow loss of energy, the creaking joints, the fine lines that gradually carve themselves into our faces. All these visible transformations are often acknowledged. But what's less discussed, and perhaps more significant, is the emotional toll of aging. It's a silent burden we carry, and for many, it's even harder to cope with than the physical changes. Along with these physical shifts, aging often brings with it a wave of emotions that may not always be understood, either by ourselves or by those around us. As the years pass, a deep sense of loss begins to seep in. It's not always an obvious loss. It's the gradual fading of the self we once knew so well. There's a profound nostalgia for the person we once were, the version of ourselves that was full of vitality, ambition, and an unwavering sense of possibility. When we look back at our younger years, we often see a landscape filled with hope, dreams, and a sense of control over our destiny. But with age, that landscape begins to change. The once unshakable confidence in our physical abilities starts to wane, and we're faced with the reality that our bodies no longer work the way they used to. The things we once did effortlessly are now more challenging, and the future no longer feels as bright or certain as it once did. This can leave us feeling disoriented, uncertain, and sometimes deeply sad. What's even more difficult is the emotional isolation that often accompanies aging. Many times these feelings of loss and sadness are misunderstood, especially by younger generations. They may see us as merely getting old without truly understanding the complex emotions tied to aging. To them, aging might simply be a part of life, but to us it's a deeply personal experience. It brings with it a sense of mourning, not just for the passing of time, but for the life we've lived and the people we've become. They may not realize how difficult it can be to face the diminishing of our dreams, or the fear of a future that feels out of our control. At times, they may see our reflections on the past as signs of regret or longing for something unreachable. But in reality, they are expressions of the deep emotional work that aging demands. If you're still watching and find these reflections useful, please comment 3 below to let me know you're still here with me. Navigating the emotional burdens of aging can be one of the most profound experiences in our lives. The first step is to allow ourselves to fully acknowledge the feelings that come with it, without guilt or shame. It's easy to feel as though we must always remain strong, always positive, and that showing vulnerability is somehow a weakness. However, embracing and accepting our emotions is, in truth, a powerful act of self-compassion. We must remind ourselves that feelings of sadness, loss, and even fear are not weaknesses but natural, human responses to the passage of time. It is okay to feel sorrow over the changes in our lives, to mourn the things we can no longer do, the dreams that may never come to fruition, or the loved ones who have passed. Mourning the passage of time is not a reflection of failure, but rather a recognition of the richness of a life lived. The more we allow ourselves to accept these emotions, the more we can begin to process them in a healthy way, instead of letting them fester and weigh us down. Talking about these emotions can be an incredibly powerful tool in navigating the emotional complexities of aging. By sharing our experiences with others, whether it's with family, friends, or even strangers, we create an opportunity for connection and understanding. Unfortunately, many people, especially younger generations, are often not equipped to handle or understand the emotional depth that aging brings. But by expressing our thoughts openly, we give them a chance to learn, to see our perspective, and to understand that aging is not just about physical changes, but also emotional growth and adjustment. When we share our stories, whether about the joys of youth, the regrets of lost opportunities, or the beauty of the wisdom gained with age, we help others appreciate the emotional complexity of aging. By allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, we give others the chance to connect with us on a deeper level. This act of vulnerability is not only liberating for us, but also beneficial for those around us. It creates an environment of empathy where our emotions are seen not as burdens, but as a part of the human experience that binds us together. Through this shared understanding, we can help break the isolation that often accompanies aging. Instead of feeling misunderstood, we can feel seen, heard, and supported. We can form deeper bonds with those around us and teach younger generations about the value of emotional honesty and the beauty of accepting the fullness of the human experience, both the joys and the sorrows. Furthermore, talking openly about aging can also be empowering. By taking ownership of our emotions and experiences, we regain a sense of control over the narrative of our lives. Aging no longer has to be a source of shame or fear. Instead, we can embrace it as a part of our unique journey, a journey that is filled with both loss and great wisdom, peace, and understanding. Our stories, emotions, and experiences are worth sharing. By doing so, we not only lighten our emotional burdens, but also offer others the opportunity to walk with us on this path of life. As we come to the end of this discussion, I want to reflect on everything we've shared. Aging is a journey that touches both our bodies and our hearts. We've explored how the passage of time can stir feelings of sadness, loss, and nostalgia, and how these emotions are often misunderstood. But most importantly, we've learned that embracing these feelings, talking about them openly, and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable is a powerful way to heal and connect with others. It is a reminder that we are all on this journey together, and that sharing our experiences can help bridge the emotional gaps between generations. So what have you learned so far? What is one thing you will take away from this video and begin practicing in your own life? I invite you to reflect on it and share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, please leave your comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to continue this journey together with you. Thank you for watching.